Hi, and thank you for joining me on another episode of the Tech Exec Podcast, where I'll help you create teams worth leading, because life's too short to lead mediocre teams. As always, I'm your host, Aviv Ben-Yosef, advisor and consultant to tech execs worldwide, and today our subject is scheduled maintenance. This is about something that, I happen to notice because I'm doing all sorts of things around the house here, and I kept thinking about the difference you see between the areas where you make the point of having the scheduled maintenance as opposed to forgetting about something till it becomes way too hard to do a simple thing. Like, for example, yes, I live in Israel and therefore we have some action. About 4 years or so ago, we had the previous small-ish war with Gaza, and we had to close the safety rooms, iron-clad pads to block the room, which I have not done since we moved to this house, I think. And I went there and I tried to do that, and things were so jammed. I had to actually get a hammer and start hammering at the thing. It took me a while till I eventually got it to a point where I could close the thing shut. And from that point, I decided I'm going to have scheduled maintenance for something like that, because I'm not always going to have prior notice of when I'll have to shut it. And I didn't want to take 15 minutes when a missile might get here in a couple. So what did we do? I had a recurring reminder every 6 months or so. Yeah, I'm that sort of insane person, to close and open it to ensure that it's operating. I did that. And, lucky for me, when things got heated over here over the past 20-ish months, it was really easy, smooth as butter, to just close it. And at least I did not have that panic moment for the small cost of once every 6 months taking 10 seconds to open and close it. The same goes with, your AC filters. If you never clean those, when it comes to time to clean them, because the AC is now having issues, you might be paying for replacing other parts in the AC just because you never did that. The garage opener. If you never open the garage because it's post-COVID and you only take one of your cars out and you let the garage opener decay, at some point you're going to need to go out and it's no longer going to function. That sort of stuff. Scheduled maintenance is important. Now, when is it important? Sometimes, I'm trying to circle back to why I'm talking to you about this, okay? I promise I've got a real point related to your work. So, scheduled maintenance is important in our jobs, in our careers, when we have areas where we just neglect them so much that there comes a point where we have to do something and it's a lot harder had we maintained it. Now, do be aware of the trade-off. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. For example, I've seen teams that cared so much about the scheduled maintenance that what did they do? Every time that they changed something in their conventions, whatever, they went over and fixed every single service, even if it's like a legacy service they never even touch, to ensure that everything is up to date. And it usually meant that some of those services went through like 2, 3, 4 iterations of being updated, so it's according to conventions, even though no one ever used them in between those fixes. The only commits you see are convention fixes, meaning that fixing the conventions does not change anything to anyone. Maybe it would have been better to pay the cost of not doing it at all till you had to. Another is with a client that I know that started creating a set of job description and levels info for positions we knew they were not going to hire for at least 2 years. I'm like, who cares? You're doing the scheduled maintenance now, and you're going to have to support this document as you're going to be making changes throughout the next couple of years without any real benefit, because you're not going to use it. You know that. You're not going to have multiple VPs of engineering in the next couple of years. That's useless scheduled maintenance. That's just busy work. I'm talking about scheduled maintenance that you need to do for your team to be operational. Some of these, I'm guessing, make more sense trivially than others. For example, if I'm telling you, you need to check your team's ability to recover from backup every X months to ensure that the backups are actually usable, to ensure that the team knows how to do that. I'm hoping that makes sense to you. That's not a surprise. You need to be doing that regularly, because otherwise, when things are like the things hit the fan and you're really in a jam, you don't want the team to then realize, oh, we haven't updated the way we do that, and that no longer works. And do you remember, what do we do? Joe was responsible for that, but Joe left like 6 months ago. I don't want us to be in that position. So we do need to do some of these things regularly, but there's also schedule maintenance that you need to do that's not as obvious that it is needed. For example, if you're a leader, how often do you think about your team's structure? The maintenance of seeing that something is off in the team, and just we get used to it. We see that the org chart, for example, if you view it as a sort of a tree, is no longer balanced because you created it and then things change. Maybe the board asked for something, there was a regulatory change, some people left, someone had to be promoted, whatever. You had a few changes that you had to do on the fly. But that resulted in an organization that's not structured, that's not healthy, not robust enough as it ought to be. Schedule maintenance is about thinking, what do we need to do? What can we move? What makes sense here? Not just when there are layoffs and I have to fix it, but no, I'm going to be intentional. I'm going to be deliberate and think, what would this look like? If I had to do layoffs now, if I had to change things now, what would I do? This is a question that I ask my clients a lot. I regularly ask them, look at your team and think, if you were to wake up to an email from the CEO saying, hey, we're going to have to do layoffs, who would you first pick? Too often they already have something. And I ask them to regularly review that and ask themselves that. Also because, stoically, it's good to be prepared, but I want you to be proactive. I want you to do the schedule maintenance. Look at your team and say, okay, I'm not going to wait till things are on fire. I'm going to get to that person. I'm going to give them feedback. I'm going to move them. I'm going to do something so the team doesn't get to layoffs. So if I have to do layoffs, I actually prefer to be in a tough spot where everyone's really good and everyone deserves staying, as opposed to having the clear picks, knowing that there are people I did not ensure are performing like they ought to, right? That's my thinking. So you need to do the schedule maintenance in your leadership, in your communication with others. How well are you maintaining your relationship with your peers? If you only talk to some colleagues when you need something, you don't have a relationship that you can rely on regularly, and therefore it will always only function when you have shared interests. But if you have a regular relationship that you maintain with others, you will know more things. You'll be able to move things in the company. You'll be able to be aware of different changes ahead of time, so you can help shape the trajectory of the company, that sort of stuff. But that only happens if you remember to do the work in between. Yeah, a lot of times it is possible to fix it even if you've neglected it for a while. You need the equivalent of WD-40 to do that. It is possible, but sometimes just putting in the bit of work to be on top of things will make it so much easier for you. So I want you to think about that. Where can you right now spot an instance where you can just add a small task for yourself, do it. It shouldn't regularly not take more than a few minutes every few months, and you'll gain so much when things actually happen. You actually need the capability, and you've made sure that you can slide that door easily while you hear your neighbor banging away on it, being very nervous about the alarm. Okay? I want you to be in that position, not in my neighbor's position. That's it for this week. Thank you for joining me. I'm reminding you that you can still get Unplugged with Aviv, my new offering, at ridiculously low introductory pricing that's probably going away this week or the next week, depending on when this pre-scheduled episode goes out. So think about that. Check it out. I already had one session. Another session should be happening soon to when this episode is going out. So don't miss that. And I'll see you here next week. Ciao.